All right, we are going to move on to spirituality and the counselor, and then we'll kind of get on to some other things. But what I wanted to make sure that we're aware of is that we as therapists, and not only as therapists, but as human beings, we all have different preferences, different practices, and things that are important to us. Um, Spiritually, what is spiritually significant to one person might not necessarily be spiritually significant to another person. And so that's really important to take on first on a very, very personal level, and to recognize that the way that you live out your spirituality and the spiritual practices that you find to be important to you are present in your life because they are meaningful to you. Of course, there's always room for growth and being refined and being challenged, but it's important to recognize that the things that you find to be very, very meaningful to you are the things that you're incorporating into your life. Um, Now, I also wanted to make sure that we hit on just this aspect, going back to all truth is God's truth, and bringing spirituality as far as what that looks like into our practice. Now, when we do that, let's say we're with a non-believer and they come into our office and we know that they're a spiritual being, we know that they act out of the things that are of the highest honor and value to them, that's how they live, but they're not necessarily a believer. In those situations, we don't have to let go of truth. We don't have to water down truth. We treat them like we would treat any other client, with non-judgmentalism, with compassion, with empathy, and with hope. We don't have to let go of truth. We don't have to renounce our own faith. In fact, it's important that we don't, because who we are as believers is something that is fleshed out when our clients come into the room. So keeping yourself in check and understanding the things that are most meaningful to you is going to be important, as well as that recognition of not having to water down the truth. Now, you might need to learn how to rephrase the truth in a way that somebody could understand. You might need to learn different ways of speaking truth. Perhaps that means not pulling out a Bible and saying, according to the Bible, it says this, but maybe asking questions, maybe getting to know the client and the things that are important to them and seeing where their heart is in all of that. Maybe it's asking questions like, how's that working for you? Rather than saying, well, the Bible says don't do this. Ask the client, hey, how does that work for you? Tell me what's beneficial to you in doing those things. Tell me where you experience negative consequences. And in that, what the client is able to do is process and evaluate themselves to figure out where they stand, rather than feeling like we are judging them and telling them what they should or shouldn't do, what they should or shouldn't believe. So anytime or somebody or something is different than what we believe or what we think, we are prone to be fearful, and it oftentimes manifests itself in anger and in judgment. So I even noticed myself on the group discussion board seeing different people post and absolutely loving this discussion, but then feeling a little bit of a pull at certain times when I didn't necessarily agree fully with what somebody would say. And I found myself wanting to initially write back and be like, well, what do you think about this? And pull the, well, I'm the professor card. But that would not at all have been beneficial to you guys. My role is to facilitate discussion, to challenge you guys rather than imposing my own viewpoints on you. And so that's part of the reason that I held back, because I wanted to make sure that you guys had the opportunity to discuss those things. Because like I said, anytime that something feels unfamiliar to us, our tendency is going to be to put those defenses up and feel that that outside thing is a little bit scary. And we tend to practice judgment on that. So whether it's in the discussion or if you're sitting in front of a client talking to them and you kind of feel that sense of, oh, that pull, that trigger, that something they just said or something they did just does not match with who you are as an individual first and then as a therapist, it's really important in those moments to check yourself. To go, hey, what is it that I'm feeling? What is it that's actually being triggered in this moment? Am I able to keep control of those sorts of things and still remain an unbiased presence in that room? And if you need to, if you go, you know what, that was such an overwhelming thought for me or an overwhelming statement that they said, allow yourself to just kind of tuck it in the back of your mind and take some time to process through that after their session. Also, those moments where you have that pull, take that as an opportunity to check yourself to see, are there places that I need to grow? Are there places that I need to be refined? Remember that it's not your job as a therapist to change somebody or it is your job, to challenge them in a very soft and humble way. Okay? So that's going to end our section just on kind of that spirituality and then Christian values, secular values, psychology, all those fun sorts of things. And we're going to move on to some other topics now.